Okay, whenever you're trying to federate your app server profile or the custom profile with a DMGR profile, a copy of the config information of your app server profile or the custom profile, whatever the list of profiles you're federating with the DMGR profile. You might federate your app server profile or your custom profile. Whatever the list of profiles which you're trying to federate with your DMGR profile, a copy of the config information. If the federation happens successfully, a copy of the config information related to those profiles which are getting federated is copied under the DMGR config directory. So, if you see the DMGR config directory, the DMGR config directory not only has the information about its profile, but after federation, post federation, it contains the information about the list of profiles that got federated to it. Why it has to contain this information? The purpose of federation is to have a single point of administration, centralized administration. I don't want, okay, if I have 100 app server profiles, I don't want to open 100 app server profiles, admin console, and monitor or administer what is happening up inside it. I want to have a single point of contact. I want to have a single point of administration. What that means to say, whenever I open one administration console, one admin console, inside that I should not only see the information about my profile, but all the other list of profiles. So what did I do? To achieve that, I'm federating the app server profile or the custom profile with a DMGR profile. So that whenever I'm federating the profiles with the DMGR profile, what do I expect? I expect that when I open the admin console, I should not only see the information about the app server profile or the custom profile as well as the DMGR profile. All the profile which are getting federated to the DMGR profile, they should not only be visible, okay, the DMGR profile related resources should not only be visible, but all the list of profiles which are getting federated to it should be visible here. But we all know that whatever the config information that is there in the DMGR config, only that info will be displayed under the DMGR admin console. Clear everyone? Whatever the information that is there in the config folder of the DMGR, only that information will be seen under the admin console. So, whenever you are federating your app server profile or the custom profile with the DMGR profile, what happens now? Okay, a copy of the config information related to the app server profile or the custom profile that is getting federated with the DMGR profile is seen under the DMGR config folder. And also we know that DMGR admin console loads its information, okay, related to it, okay, from the config folder. Now the DMGR config folder has not only the information about itself, but about the list of profiles that got federated to it. So when I open my DMGR admin console, I see the information about the app server profile, custom profile, and the DMGR profile. Why? Because all these three profiles are available under the DMGR config directory. Clear? Anyone? Any questions? Anyone? Any questions? Yes. Anyone? Any questions? Ehsan, Faisal, Mahmood, Tariq?
No.
Cool. So, since your DMGR config directory has not only got the information about itself, but since it has the information about the other list of profiles that got federated to it, DMGR config is also called as a master config. And the individual profile config is called as a backup or child config. Clear? The DMGR profile config is called as a master config, and the individual app server profile config, it is called as a backup or the child config. Am I clear? Anyone, any questions?
Clear.
Clear. Okay. So let me launch you the admin console and let me show you one important property. Okay. For example, let's say that I want to create a server or I want to modify some resources. Okay. So let's say the port number, I want to modify some XYZ properties or some XYZ changes related to the config I'm trying to make. For example, let's say that, okay, I got some servers, okay, some XYZ server, let's say I got it, okay. So I'm changing some properties related to this, some XYZ modification I did. I've deployed some application, okay. Anything and everything related to the configuration changes when I'm making, okay, related to a particular server which belongs to a particular profile. After I made the changes from the DMGR admin console, when I click on apply, immediately a pop-up comes that, hey, do you want to save the changes to the master config or do you want to review the changes what you have made? If you want to review the changes, click on review and review the changes. Okay, okay, only the list of changes that are getting updated will be shown here, and you can say here the checkbox and you can say save or discard. The moment you click on the button called as save, whatever the changes you are making to the server by name server 1, which belongs to the app server profile 01, the changes whatever you are making, a copy of the config information related to the changes which you have made will be updated in the master config. Am I clear? Yes, am I clear? Whenever I'm making any configuration related changes from a DMGR config directory, immediately I get a pop-up saying that, hey, do you want to save the changes to the master config or do you want to review? The moment you click on save the changes to the master config, then whatever changes you have made will be updated under the DMGR config. Till that, whatever the changes you are making will be restricted to that particular profile only. If you are making some changes to the server 1, assuming that it belongs to the app server profile 01, whenever you are making any changes on the server 1 related to the configuration changes, this server 1 belongs to app service 03 profile. So whatever changes you are making till now will be restricted to the local scope of that particular profile, will be seen only under that particular app server profile. But when you click on save changes to the master config, or when you click on this particular save button, what happens, whatever the list of changes which you are trying to make, immediately that info will be loaded under the DMGR config directory or the master config directory. This particular process of syncing the changes between the local config and the master config is called as synchronization. Clear? Am I clear? What is meant by synchronization? Synchronization is nothing but it's a process of syncing the changes. Okay, the process of syncing the changes whatever you have made, okay, with the master config as well as the child config. Whatever changes which you are making till now are local to the server by name server 1, which belongs to app service 03 profile. Okay, so after you're done making the changes, okay, if you click on the apply button, since this particular change is a config change, the moment you click on the apply button, immediately a pop-up will come asking, hey, do you want to save the changes to the master config? Okay, so unless until you're not clicking on the save changes to the master config, or unless until you're not syncing the changes between the master config, whatever the changes you're making, it will be only and only local to that particular profile. Whatever changes you're making till now, it will be local to that particular profile. This particular process of syncing the changes between the master config and the child config is called as synchronization. Whatever changes you're making local to that particular profile, it will be there till in that particular profile only, unless until you're not clicking on the save changes to the master config. So unless until you're not clicking on the button called as in save changes to the master config, okay, the changes whatever you made, okay, will not be updated inside the DMGR config. Okay, once it gets updated inside the DMGR config, this particular process of syncing the changes between the master config and the child config is called as synchronization. You might ask me a question, Shiva, why we have to do a synchronization? I made some changes to a profile by name app SRV03. Why I have to sync the changes between in the DMGR config or the master config? Why I have to do that? Because as of now, okay, you got one single administration point called as an admin console. Unless until you are not syncing the changes in the master config, the DMGR config, okay, will load only and only the data which it has. Initially, okay, the DMGR config has the information that, okay, server 01 has got its HTTP port number on 9060. But for some XYZ reason, you change the port number from 9060 to 9061. Okay, if you're not syncing the changes inside the master config, the master config will load the information saying that server 1 is running on 9060, but you have modified it to 9061. So whatever the changes you are making